Hello guys, welcome to Physics Grad. This is the sixth video on canonical transformation and I'm going to call it as part 6.1 because I want to continue in this topic in the next video as well. So in this video we are going to look at the symplectic approach towards canonical transformation, and this is basically nothing but representing the conditions for canonical transformations in matrix form. So let us begin. So let us start with the Hamilton's equation. We know that our Hamilton's equations are given by Qi dot equal to dou H by dou Pi, and Pi dot is equal to minus dou H by dou Qi. Okay, so this is the Hamilton's equation, and we can represent this Hamilton's equation in matrix form also, and that is what we are going to see first. So we can represent this in matrix form. Okay, now in order to do this, for this consider a vector which I call eta, vector eta, which is defined by the following components, where my eta I is going to be Qi and eta I plus S is going to be Pi for I going from 1 to S. So this means that our eta is a 2s dimensional vector where the first S elements are our Qi's and the next S element are our Pi, and here S is of course the number of degrees of freedom. Okay, so this implies our vector eta is a 2s dimensional vector. Okay, all right. So if we take an example, for example, if S is equal to 2, then our vector eta will be given by Q1, Q2, P1, P2. Okay, all right. So what will be the value? So here our Hamilton's equations have the partial derivatives of this form, and if I calculate the value of dou H by dou eta vector, this quantity is itself going to be a vector whose components are given by dou H by dou Q1, dou H by dou Q2 up till dou H by dou Qs, comma dou H by dou P1, again up till dou H by dou Ps. Okay, so this is how when you differentiate a function with respect to a vector, you get a vector whose components are partial the partial derivatives of the function with respect to the components of the vector. Okay, but using our Hamilton's equation, this is nothing but dou H by dou eta. So this should be a transpose. This is a vector, so I write it as a in the row form and take a transpose, and I will get a column vector. Okay, so this, by using our Hamilton's equation, is going to be minus P1 dot minus P2 dot up till minus Ps dot and Q1 dot up till Qs dot. So how I got this is by using the fact that dou H by dou Qi is equal to minus Pi dot, and therefore dou H by dou Q1 becomes minus P1 dot, and so on. Okay, so if we operate on this vector with a matrix defined as follows, so if we operate on this vector, that is this vector with a matrix which is defined by I'm going to represent matrix with a hat and capital letter. So this matrix which I'm going to define is going to have 2s cross 2s dimension, and I define this matrix as having 4 blocks each of s cross s dimension, and here of course one represents the unit identity matrix and 0. So I'm going to define such a matrix and I'm going to operate on this vector by using this matrix, okay, and see what I'm going to get. So if you take an example for s is equal to 2, our J matrix will be a 4 by 4 matrix defined by 0 0 0 0, that is this part, and 1 0 0 1, that is this part. Similarly minus 1 0 0 minus 1 and 0 0 0 0. Okay, so I hope that is clear. So if I operate this particular vector by using this matrix, what we will get is the following. So J matrix operating on dou h by dou eta vector is going to give us, so if you consider our dou h by dou eta vector for the case of s is equal to 2, this is nothing but minus p1 dot minus p2 dot q1 dot q2 dot transpose. Okay, when I operate it on using this matrix, this is simply going to become equal to, so the first row multiplied by this column, the only term which will remain is 1 into q1 dot. So the first term is going to be q1 dot. Similarly, the second term is going to be q2 dot, and this is minus 1 multiplied by minus p1, so that will become plus p1 dot p2 dot transpose. So this is going to give me q1 dot up till qs dot, p1 dot up till ps dot. But this, if you see, is nothing but the vector eta, the differentiation of the derivative of vector eta. Okay, so we had defined our vector eta in this form, and here this is clearly equal to eta dot. Okay, so what have we done? We have basically got the relation that eta dot is equal to the matrix J times the vector dou h by dou eta, and this is nothing but our Hamilton's equation in the matrix form. Okay, because basically this is relating quantities of this form to the time derivative of these guys via the matrix J, and since this guy is negative and this guy is positive, we will get the appropriate relation with the negative sign for pi dot and qi dot with positive signs, and therefore this is nothing but Hamilton equations in matrix form. Okay, and this is also called, just nomenclature, also called the symplectic form. Symplectic form, and that is why the name symplectic approach to canonical transformation. Okay, all right, now comes the main question at hand, which is, in the symplectic form, what is the condition for a given transformation to be canonical? Okay, what is the condition for a given transformation to be canonical? And to find the answer to this, okay, we will begin by saying that we know that for canonical transformation, the form of the Hamilton's equations must be preserved. Okay, so we know that for canonical transformations, Hamilton equations must be preserved. That is, form of Hamilton's equation must be preserved. Okay, so in order to find what the condition will be in the symplectic formulation, let us consider the following. So let our transformation give us new variables qi, which is going to be a function of q and p. So first we are going to consider restricted canonical transformation. Okay, so first consider restricted canonical transformation. By restricted canonical transformation, I mean that the transformation equations don't depend on time. There is no explicit dependence on time, only q and p. Okay, and we'll consider the symplectic condition for the general canonical transformation, which also depends on time, in the next video, and that is the reason why I call this 6.1. But first, just to understand it clearly what symplectic condition means, we are going to first consider the case of restricted canonical transformation, because the math is straightforward, therefore it becomes easier to understand this. So let us consider a restricted canonical transformation which gives us new variables which are functions of the old variables q and p. Okay, now for such a transformation, from our previous lectures, obviously this is going to need some kind of a generating function, and for this to be restricted canonical transformation, even the generating function will also not depend on time, which means our h dash will be equal to h, because our partial derivative of the generating function with respect to time will be equal to 0. Okay, and this is what simplifies our this condition is what simplifies the math when we consider the restricted canonical transformation, and that is the reason why we are considering this case first. Okay, so this implies that if I calculate qi dot, this is going to be nothing but summation over j dou qi by dou qj qj dot plus dou qi by dou pj times pj dot. Okay, but now if I use our Hamilton's equation relation to express qj dot and pj dot in terms of h, this will be equal to summation over j dou qi by dou qj dou h by dou pj, because qj dot is dou h by dou pj, minus dou qi by dou pj times dou h by dou qj, again because pj dot is minus dou h by dou qj. But this is nothing but our Poisson bracket of the Hamiltonian and qi taken with respect to the old coordinates p and q. Okay, so this relation, this particular relation, I'm going to call it as equation 1. Okay, now since h dash is equal to h, our we can write our Hamiltonian in terms of q and p, and so we can write h in terms of q and p by basic, since our initial h will be a function of q and p and t of course, but we can always invert these transformation equations and write our old coordinates in terms of the new coordinates, and that is what I mean by saying that writing h in terms of q and p. So writing it in this form, and we can calculate dou h by dou pi. Okay, so this is when I write h in terms of the new coordinates q and p. Okay, but this can in turn be written as, so alright, so initially our h was a function of old coordinates. So if we assume it in that form, this is going to be dou h summation over j, dou h by dou qj by dou pi plus dou h by dou pj by dou pi. Okay, so this relation I'm going to call it as equation 2. Okay, but this must be equal to our qi dot, because so when I write h in terms of q and p, this guy is basically going to be equal to h dash. So this should be equal to dou h dash by dou pi by our, because our canonical transformation must preserve the form of the Hamilton's equation, and this quantity is same as this quantity. Okay, so we will call this relation as equation number 2. Okay, so this implies for the transformation to be canonical from equations 1 and 2, since they are the same, if you compare this particular relation, which is equal to this relation, with this relation, what you will see is that dou qi by dou qj with subscripts qp. I'm going to explain what this subscript means soon after I write the equation. This should be equal to dou pj by dou pi with subscripts capital Q and P. So this is got by comparing, if you compare the coefficient of this term and this term, they both must be the same, and that is what we get here. So this guy is nothing but this guy, and this guy is nothing but this guy. And what these subscripts emphasize is the fact that our numerator is written as a function of small q and p, whereas here our numerator is written as a function of capital P, q and p. So similarly, we get dou qi by dou pj, which is where qi is represented in terms of the old coordinates, will be equal to minus dou qj by dou pi qp. Okay, so here subscript implies numerator is written as a function of subscripts. Okay, so similarly for the equation pi dot equal to minus dou h by dou qi, if we relate the similar kind of equations, what we will get is that dou pi by dou qj with pi represented in terms of the old coordinates must be equal to dou pj by dou qi, where pj is represented in terms of new coordinates, and dou pi by dou pj qp must be equal to dou qj by dou qi qp. Okay, and I am going to call these four sets of relations as equation number 4. Okay, and this condition, so this is basically saying that in order to preserve the Hamilton's equation, that is in order for qi dot to be equal to dou h dash by dou pi dot, which is saying that it must preserve the Hamilton's equation, these four relations must be satisfied. That is, these are the conditions which must be satisfied in order for the Hamilton's equations, the form of the Hamilton's equation to be preserved. Okay, and this condition is sometimes called the direct condition, just nomenclature here again. So condition 4, so let me make some more space. Condition 4 is called direct condition. Direct condition for a restricted canonical transformation. Okay, now we want to write this because we want to find the answer to this question. So we want to find this in the symplectic form. Okay, that is, in other words, in the matrix form. How do we represent the same condition? Okay, so that is what we are going to discuss. So how to write the same thing in symplectic form. Okay, so for this we define another vector psi which has the components as the new coordinates instead of the old coordinates which was eta. So this is defined in this manner, transpose, because it's a column vector. So if I define a new vector psi whose components is the new coordinates and momenta, then the equations 1 and 2, so let us see what these equations are again. So the equations 1 and 2, that is basically this relation and this relation and so instead of 2, what I want to do is, if you calculate our pi dot, so this is the relation for qi dot, and this I'm going to call it as equation 1a. Okay, similarly we will have a relation for our pi dot, which can be given by equal to summation over j dou pi by dou qj into qj dot plus dou pi by dou pj into pj dot. Okay, and this relation I am going to call it as 1b. Okay, so here then equations 1a and 1b, that is basically the relation for qi dot and pi dot, okay, can be written as psi dot, vector psi dot is equal to summation over j dou psi I by dou eta j times eta j dot, where our eta is the vector whose components are the old coordinates and momenta. So this equation is basically giving us equations 1a and 1b together. Okay, so here if you consider, this qi is basically our eta I and qj is basically our eta j. Okay, and qj dot is eta j dot. Similarly in this relation, and that is what here we are writing. Okay, so but note that here our I and j go from 1 to 2s, whereas here our I goes from 1 to s. Okay, not 1 to 2s, only 1 to s. So this also you need to keep it in mind. because there we are considering two sets of equation, each having s summation quantities. Okay, whereas here we have to consider ij going from 1 to 2s because these vectors are 2s dimensional vectors. All right, so in fact this should be eta I dot. All right, so for example consider s is equal to 2, then my eta 1 dot will be equal to dou eta 1 by dou eta 1 dot plus dou psi 1 by dou eta 2 dot plus dou psi 1 by dou eta 3 dot plus dou psi 1 by dou eta 4 dot, and similarly I can go on till psi 4 dot, which is given by dou psi 4 by dou eta 1 dot, and up till plus dou psi 4 by dou eta 4 dot. Okay, now these equations can be written as, so in matrix form, so this can be written as the vector eta dot equal to the matrix m hat, which I'm going to call it as m hat, which consists of elements of this form, okay, times eta dot. Okay, so what I mean is that this should be equal to, in this case, dou psi 1 by dou eta 1, dou psi 1 by dou eta 2, dou psi 1 by dou eta 3, dou psi 1 by dou eta 4, up till dou psi 4 by dou eta 1, and so on, dou psi 4 by dou eta 4 times eta 1 dot, eta 2 dot, eta 4 dot. Okay, and this matrix, which I call m hat, is nothing but what mathematicians call as the Jacobian matrix. Jacobian matrix for the transformation. So because here our eta 1 is nothing but q1 and eta 2 is q1, eta 1 or psi 1 is q1 and eta 1 is q1. So basically q1 is a function of the small q's and p's. So for that transformation, this matrix is nothing but the Jacobian matrix for the transformation. So in general, okay, or in general, we can write psi vector dot equal to matrix m times eta vector dot. Okay, where the matrix element mij is given by dou psi I by dou eta j. Okay, and this matrix is called the Jacobian matrix. All right, now our Hamilton's equation for the old coordinates is given by eta equal to eta dot equal to j times dou h by dou eta vector. Similarly, for our new variables, in order for the new variables to be canonical, the psi dot vector must be related to the Hamilton function by the matrix j times dou h dash by dou eta, dou psi. Okay, so this is the Hamilton's equation in terms of the new variables, and we should have our canonical, in order for our canonical transformation, or in order for the transformation to be canonical, this relation must be followed. Okay, so to see what is the condition for this particular relation to be true, let us go back to the condition that the vector psi dot is equal to matrix M times eta dot. Now what I am going to do is I am going to substitute for eta as j times dou h by dou eta. So this is equal to matrix M times dou h, matrix M times j matrix times dou h by dou eta vector. Okay, right. Now, so let us remember this relation. Dou psi dot equal to matrix M matrix J times dou H by dou eta. Okay. Now consider dou H dash by, so if I write our, so if we write H in terms of our new coordinates q and p, then the value dou h by dou eta, okay, or dou h dash, when we write it in terms of the new variables, this becomes h dash. So this guy is going to be equal to summation over j dou h dash by dou psi j times dou psi j by dou eta. Correct? So this means that, or to be more specific, the component dou h dash by dou eta I must be equal to summation over j dou h dash by dou psi j by dou eta I. Okay, so this relation is valid mathematically because our h dash is equal to h, and when h dash is written in terms of the new variables, so we can find use the chain rule and find this quantity, that is the partial derivative of the Hamiltonian expressed in terms of new variables with respect to the old variable, as by using the chain rule as dou h dash by differentiating with respect to the old variable times dou times these quantities, which are the elements of the Jacobian matrix. So if you notice, this particular element is nothing but mji. Okay, and if you consider an example and see, you will see that these sets of equation can be written as dou h dash by dou eta. So here don't consider this, consider this equation. So this dou h dash by dou eta must be equal to our Jacobian matrix, transpose of the Jacobian matrix times dou h dash by dou psi. Okay, so basically what I am writing is that I am keeping this, that is this, okay, and making use of the fact that these are the elements of the Jacobian matrix, in fact jith element, and in order to write this equation in the matrix form, I will have to define a matrix which is the transpose of the Jacobian matrix. Okay, so in this equation now, since h is equal to h dash, I can write zeta dot equal to m hat j hat dou h dash by dou eta, and for dou h dash by dou eta I am going to substitute this equation. So this become m hat j hat m hat transpose dou h dash by dou psi. Okay, but for this to be canonical transformation, our psi dot must be equal to matrix j times dou h dash by dou psi. So comparing this equation with this equation, what we get is that m hat j hat m hat transpose must be equal to j hat. Okay, so let us call this as equation 5. Okay, did I define equation 4 anywhere? Yeah, 4 was this condition. Okay, so this is equation 5. Okay, now I want you to verify that the matrix J multiplied by itself will give you negative of the identity matrix 2s cross 2s. Okay, this is easy to verify, you can verify it yourself. So if you make use of this fact, okay, so before that this can be equivalently written as m hat j hat m hat transpose. I am going to multiply both sides by the inverse of m hat transpose. This will be equal to j hat m hat transpose inverse, which means m hat j hat is equal to j hat m hat transpose inverse. Okay, so let us remember this equation, call it 6. So now if I make use of this fact and the following mathematical equality, which is by so if I by multiplying j hat to the left of equation 5 or equation 6, sorry, equation 6, and multiplying by minus j hat towards the right side of equation 6 to in both sides, what will I get? I will get j hat m hat j hat minus j hat is equal to j hat m hat transpose inverse minus j hat. And making use of this fact, this is equal to j hat m hat equal to m hat transpose inverse j hat. So this implies that if I multiply by m hat transpose in both sides, I will get m hat transpose j hat m hat is equal to j hat. Okay, this I am going to call it as equation 7. So equation 5 and 7 are equivalent, okay, because they can be got by just multiplying both the equations by the matrices J and m hat transpose inverse and m hat transpose inverse. So 5 and 7 are equivalent equations or the same equations, and so let me write that down. 5 and 7 are equivalent, and this relation must be followed in order for the given transformation to be canonical, and this in fact is the matrix form of the condition 4 that we derived. Okay, so this indeed is the matrix representation of these two conditions, these two sets of conditions. Okay, you can check that yourself. That is what we have derived, and this 5 and 7, this condition is called as the symplectic condition. Okay, and the matrix m hat which satisfies equation 5 and 7 is called a symplectic matrix. It's called a symplectic matrix. Okay, so I will end the video by noting down the following. This condition remains a necessary and sufficient condition for canonical transformations of form psi equal to a function of the old coordinates and momenta and time as well. So for a general canonical transformation which can depend on time as well should also satisfy this symplectic condition, but here we have proved that the symplectic condition must be satisfied for restricted canonical transformation. We have not yet proved for canonical transformations of this form, and that will be the topic for our next video. Okay, proof will be in next video. So with that, I would like to end this video. Thank you for watching. See you next time.